Dear friends, welcome to Glimpses of World History by the legendary architect of modern India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. You are about to experience this masterpiece narrated through an artificial recreation of Nehru's voice.
Letter number 11, 16th January, year 1931. 1,000 years of China. Dear Priyadarshini, news has come from the outside world, news that disturbs and grieves, and yet that fills one with pride and joy. We have heard of the fate of the Sholapur people. We have also had some brief accounts of what happened all over the country when this sad news was known. It is difficult to sit here quietly when our young men are giving their lives and thousands of men and women are facing the brutal Lati. But it is good training for us. I suppose each one of us will have opportunities to test himself or herself to the utmost. Meanwhile, it does one's heart good to know how our people dare to go ahead to meet suffering, how each additional weapon and blow of the enemy makes them stronger and more determined to resist. It is difficult to think of other matters when the news of the day fills one's mind. But empty musing does not help much, and if we have to do any solid work, we must control our minds. Let us therefore go back to old times and live for a while far away from our present troubles. Let us go to India's sister in ancient history, China. In China and in the other countries of Eastern Asia, like Japan, Korea, Indochina, Siam and Burma, we have not to deal with the Aryan people. We have here the Mongolian races. About 5,000 years ago or more, there was an invasion of China from the west. These invading tribes also came from Central Asia and were fairly advanced in their civilization. They knew agriculture and kept large flocks and herds of cattle. They built good houses and had a well-developed society. They settled down near the Huanghe, which is also called the Yellow River, and organized their state. For many hundreds of years, they continued spreading over China and improving their arts and crafts. The Chinese people were largely farmers, and their chiefs were really patriarchs of the kind I have described to you in my earlier letters. 600 or 700 years later, that is, more than 4,000 years ago from now, we find a man named Yao calling himself emperor. But in spite of this title, he was more of a patriarch than an emperor of the kind Egypt or Mesopotamia had. The Chinese people continued to live as farmers, and there was not much of a central government. I have told you how the patriarchs used to be elected by their people, and later how they became hereditary. We see that happening in China. Yao was not succeeded by his son, but he nominated another person who was considered the most capable man in the country. Soon, however, the title became hereditary, and it is said that for more than 400 years, the Xia dynasty ruled China. The last Xia ruler was very cruel, and there was a revolution which overthrew him. Another dynasty, called the Shang or Yin dynasty, then came into power, and this lasted for nearly 650 years. In a little paragraph, in 2 or 3 short sentences, I have disposed of China's history for more than 1,000 years. Wonderful, is it not, what one can do with these expanses of history? But you must realize that my little paragraph does not lessen the length of these 1,000 or 1,100 years. We are used to thinking in terms of days and months and years. It is difficult for you to have a clear idea of even 100 years. Your 13 years seem a lot, do they not? And each additional year makes you so much bigger. How then can you get hold in your mind of 1,000 years of history? It is a long time. Generation after generation comes and goes, and towns grow into great cities and then crumble away, and fresh cities take their place. Think of the last 1,000 years of history, and then perhaps you will have some idea of this long period. What amazing changes have taken place in these 1,000 years in the world. It is a wonderful thing, the history of China. with its long tradition of culture and its dynasties, each lasting for 500 years or even 800 years or more. Think of the slow progress and development of China during these 1100 years I have disposed of in a paragraph. Gradually, the patriarchal system gives way and the central government develops. A well organized state appears. Even in these ancient times, China knew the art of writing. But Chinese writing, as you know, is very different from our writing or from the writing of English and French. It has not got an alphabet. It is written in symbols or pictures. The Shang dynasty, after 640 years of rule, was upset by a revolution, and a new dynasty, the Zhou dynasty, came into power. This had an even longer period of power than the Shang. It lasted for 867 years. It was under the Zhou dynasty that a well-organized Chinese state appeared. It was also during this period that the two great philosophers of China, Confucius and Lao Tse, lived. We shall have something to say about them later. When the Shang dynasty was driven out, one of its high officials named Qitze preferred exile to serving the Zhous, so he marched with 5,000 followers out of China into Korea. He called the country Chosen, or the land of the morning calm. Korea, or Chosen, is east of China, so Qitze went east towards the rising sun. Perhaps he then thought that he had reached the easternmost country and therefore gave it this name. With Qitze began the history of Korea from 1100 years before Christ. Qitze brought to his new country Chinese arts and crafts and house building and agriculture and silk making. More Chinese immigrants followed Qitze. Qitze's descendants ruled Chosen for over 900 years. Chosen was not, of course, the most easterly country. East of it, as we know, is Japan. But we have no knowledge of what was happening in Japan when Qitze went to Chosen. Japanese history is not nearly as old as that of China or even Korea or Chosen. The Japanese say that their first emperor was named Jimmu Tenno and that he ruled 600 or 700 years before Christ. He is supposed by them to have been a descendant of the sun goddess, for the sun was considered a goddess in Japan. The present emperor of Japan is said to be a direct descendant of this Jimmu Tenno and is thus also believed by many Japanese to be a descendant of the sun. You know that in our country, the Rajputs also in the same way claim that they go back to the sun and the moon. Their two principal houses are the Suryavanshi, or the race of the sun, and Chandravanshi, or the race of the moon. The Maharana of Udaipur is the head of the Suryavamshis, and he traces his pedigree far back into the past. Wonderful people are our Rajputs, and of the stories of their valor and chivalry there is no end. Dear Priyadarshini, we shall meet in the next letter. Letter number 12, 17th January, year 1931. The Call of the Past.
Dear listeners, this was legendary Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's masterpiece, Glimpses of World History. You can listen to the Hindi version of it in the link shared in description. Support us through paying thanks, supers, and subscriptions. Let's go to the next episode.